Situation of both Colombia and Venezuela seems identical. Both countries are militarily and politically harassed by the United States. Speedboat shootings migrated from Caribbean to Pacific Ocean, and there has been at least 2 shootings in Pacific waters of Colombia, all of them resulting in dead fishermen. Information has been requested by President Gustavo Petro. However, reasoning provided by both Donald Trump, Marco Rubio, and Pete Hexath remains insufficient. Meanwhile, they all complain about Venezuela in similar terms as before. It looks like the United States engages in regime change for both Colombia and Venezuela. They are seeking to oust Presidents Gustavo Petro and Nicolás Maduro, both of which are asking constituent powers to reduce the possibility of being ousted. President Nicolás Maduro is meeting right now with his supporters for a workers' constituent movement, while Gustavo Petro will do exactly the same thing at Bolivar Plaza in Bogotá. President Petro seeks to elect 71 constituent members who will address various changes to the Colombian constitution. Both Colombia and Venezuela look strong in their opposition to United States pretension of violating their sovereignty. In the case of Venezuela, President Maduro has warned that we count with at least 5,000 Russian missiles and other air defense, sea defense capabilities, which are patrolling constantly our airspace and Caribbean coast. Enhanced patrolling has been in effect since midnight today, as military assistance to Colombia will be made available in case United States shoots missiles into Colombia first, while we are waiting for Donald Trump to honor his commitment to request United States Senate and Congress for powers to continue its war to Venezuela and Colombia by land. Vice President Delcy Rodriguez spoke on an economic summit yesterday, and she referred specifically to Trinidad and Tobago Prime Minister Kamala Persad, suggesting her not to believe Marco Rubio's offers for free Venezuelan gas, as all negotiations must be made directly with Venezuelan authorities if Trinidad and Tobago is interested in purchasing Venezuelan gas. However, Venezuelan gas must be paid for, while Marco Rubio is offering OFAC license that will not allow Venezuelan PDVSA company to receive cash payments, and such an option is unattractive to Venezuela. We count on several other investors, potentially Barbados, Grenada, Russia, Vietnam, India, China, could also help Venezuela develop Dragon, Patao, Mejillones, Rio Caribe, Plataforma del Tana 3, Plataforma del Tana 5, Dorado, Coquina, and Loran by using shadow fleets and payments in non-dollar currencies. Venezuela's strategic partner, the Russian Federation, has also received sanctions on its petroleum companies, Lukoil and Rosneft, which provides them, along with PDVSA, a common challenge to continue producing and commercializing oil and gas in spite of OFAC harassment. Most scenarios, medium and long term, reflect the belief that most demand for hydrocarbons will come from developing countries rather than advanced economies. As the purchasing power of developed economies decreases, pressure provided by such advanced economies through sanctions and military threats should decrease. Radical opposition figures in both Colombia and Venezuela are increasingly resorting to terrorist tactics such as clandestine cooperation with Central Intelligence Agency for regime change operations that could involve explicit threats to Presidents Petro and Maduro. Such extremist behavior is increasingly seen as terrorist, and full application of penal code should be expected. Domestic United States opposition to wars against Venezuela and Colombia increases, and there is even a possibility that once proposal arrives to the Senate or Congress, it would be denied, meaning that United States will no longer be authorized to use force by sending missiles into mainland Venezuelan or Colombian territory. President Petro is considering the possibility of closing out United States military bases in Colombia, while the Russian embassy in Venezuela produces daily communications regarding our strategic partnership. Maria Zakharova, spokeswoman of Russian Foreign Ministry, suggested that United States should concentrate in combating drug traffic in Manhattan, New York City. Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, Kamla Persad-Bissessar, reacted to these developments, alleging that she has received no information on war against Venezuela, and she has received no information from Delcy Rodriguez. However, Delcy Rodriguez made it very clear yesterday that Venezuela will not accept gas exports to Trinidad and Tobago without payment. Time is not on the side of Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar, who will just wait out for official communications from Venezuela, and if she doesn't speed up and request a formal in-person meeting with Vice President Delcy Rodriguez or President Nicolás Maduro, the 6-month OFAC license provided by United States Department of Treasury will expire. Vice President Delcy Rodriguez stressed out that developing Venezuelan gas fields has become a top priority, and an increasing workforce and strategies could even let Venezuela achieve the goal of exporting our first molecule of gas before 2027. Developing Orinoco Belt has been a slow process, but it is steady. Venezuela is now enjoying increase of oil production, as are partnerships with various petroleum companies around the world are flourishing. None of those partnerships require any OFAC license, as we are increasingly defining our own terms of commerce with our international partners. Daily life in Venezuela is getting used to the idea of potential intrusion of United States military into our territory, while we receive increasing proof that our levels of defense are adequate, which allows Venezuelan population to continue life normally as if nothing were happening. This reminds us the case of our ally Iran, which has in many times endured limited strikes by enemies such as Israel or United States, but for the most part, Iranian society has continued civil life activities uneventfully. Russian embassy in Caracas has invited business community for a meeting, which would be the first public event that will provide the Venezuelan public opinion an update on how the cultural, military, economic, and energetic strategic partnership with Russia will evolve. Prime Minister of Grenada has not yet made a decision on whether to allow United States raiders at St. George's Airport, as he claims he will take his time to make a decision. Rumors abound of airspace being closed in several Caribbean countries within the next few days. However, no confirmation has been provided yet. Psychological warfare is getting exhausted. Narratives are repeated. Most propaganda is repetitive, and the only novel development is increasing unity between Colombia and Venezuela, which, if it continues this trend, will make negotiations for restoring Gran Colombia unity, as designed by Simón Bolívar, would enjoy an increased probability. President Donald Trump insists on the nuisance of Venezuelan immigration into the United States. He should consider increasing deportation speed so that the United States is depleted of Venezuelan illegal immigrants. Venezuelan government of Nicolás Maduro has consistently honored repatriation flights, many of which are personally welcomed by the Minister of Interior and Justice, Diosdado Cabello, while Gustavo Petro, who is the most recent player in this trilateral Colombia, Venezuela, United States conflict, is preparing to introduce lawsuits in the United States using American law to defend himself from narco-terrorism accusations from Donald Trump regime. As Venezuela and Colombia continue our strategy of acting independently of the United States, our dependency to their sanctions or military threats will be managed as an inconvenience to be dealt with, while we will increasingly concentrate on promoting our bilateral trade and common foreign policy. United States of America is encouraged to take care of their domestic issues regarding drug addiction and drug demand, because both Venezuelan and Colombian authorities are increasingly able to develop a drug supply countermeasure using methodologies respectful of international law that will save the lives of civilians who will be given the opportunity of a due process through our systems of justice, determine if they are innocent or guilty. United States is unfortunately compared to Nazi Germany during the year 1939 when they invaded Poland, Western Russia, and France. Venezuelans and Colombians have read history and are making all possible efforts to prevent World War III to be initiated in South America. Our best antidote for preventing war is a preparation of our populations, including Constitutional Assembly in Colombia and community organization in Venezuela. Daily activities are being scheduled successfully for such popular deterrence to a war that is increasingly repudiated by the international community. United States, however, has a commitment in Gaza, which includes participation of Turkey, a historical ally of Palestine, while Russia and Ukraine continue fighting as Ukraine's surrender is delayed by design policy of Volodymyr Zelensky, who does not want to lose power. China is blessed by no military wars whatsoever near its territory and continues enjoying economic supremacy, while United States becomes exhausted. Increasing rumors of a forthcoming equities crash in the United States would be similar to the 1929 Great Depression, as artificial intelligence stocks are overvalued, while the business community increasingly realizes that demand of artificial intelligence does not grow exponentially. Hence, a correction is expected. Price of gold above $4,000 an ounce suggests that United States dollar is devaluing in real terms, suggesting a transition to a basket of gold and currencies such as the Chinese yuan as the preferred international reserve unit. Military war, economic war, psychological war have already started long ago, and this planet deserves lasting peace, which will only be possible if the international community provokes great changes at the United Nations, such as an increased permanent membership of countries such as Brazil, India, or Nigeria, and a possible change of headquarters out of New York City, as the United Nations is increasingly seen as an appendix of the United States. United States follows United Nations at its convenience, and United States rejects United Nations at its convenience, and the rest of the countries must ensure that United States ceases to act as a rogue state. Venezuela and Colombia have the option of unifying as Presidents Gustavo Petro and Nicolas Maduro, with different personalities, express a similar message that is resounding to all ears, fed up with United States arrogance. All of our actions are designed to promote peace, as we are not seeking to invade anyone's territory, unlike United States, whose expansionism must be counteracted.